Turn to page 394.
I am Canadian Matt. This is Matthew Owen. And we are reviewing every single Harry Potter movie.
Everyone.
One at a time. We're on Harry Potter 3, Prisoner of Azkaban. When I was watching this, Matt, I thought, let me give you a taste of what I wrote. I was so inspired by it. I said it leaves the trappings of the books behind and delivers a stunning film experience that is leagues beyond Columbus's direct, unimaginative translation.
Jeez, look at you getting all wordy.
I was so happy. And then the middle section happened. And the middle section just went on and on and on. And I was looking at my timer on VLC player. And I thought, I've been watching this movie for a while and I'm already bored. And it still says there's an hour and 36 minutes left. That can't be right. And it was right. This movie is 2 hours and 20-something minutes long. You could cut out so much of the middle section. It just dies. And it goes into that place of let's hit all the spots in the book, because I started thinking maybe it wasn't so much Columbus's fault that Chamber of Secrets is boring. I think that it's the scriptwriter, whoever is doing the adaptation, a guy named Clover or Close or whatever his name is. And then I was doubting Rowling's writing. I thought maybe she's not that great of a writer. Maybe she just had a great idea and it's really hard to translate this. Or it could just be, is it that tough to translate a book, especially in the middle part where she likes to really get into the minutia of all the classes, build up that dread. But building up dread doesn't really work in a movie. A movie is about 3 big moments. It's not about a long slog through. That fits more of a
it's a horror genre or something like that too.
Yeah. So I thought that the beginning was masterful right until Hogsmeade, and when they introduced Sirius Black as a dreadful character to worry about, and then I thought the ending pulled it together. Yeah. But overall, I was blown away by how saggy it was. It was like Return of the Jedi, going back and watching that and realizing, hey, the middle of this movie sucks. What did you think?
Yeah. So I would say that out of all of the Harry Potter movies, Prisoner of Azkaban is definitely higher on my list of all the different movies. But I can understand completely where you're coming from, because 3 is really that first movie where they're on their road to becoming the final characters that they are. It's their road to adulthood. And like you said, J.K. Rowling, her writing, it very much benefits because it's in a book. When you have the whole
that's
series,
a great place for writing, yeah.
Well, okay, but her style of, like you said, the building of tension and stuff like that, it works because she has so many pages to do it, and she can do the tension building while also retaining the same old Harry Potter things we've come to love. And I think 3, the movie Azkaban, really struggled to bring those two apart. Also, it was or bring them together. It was also different because 3 was the first time we saw a really big style change. You know, they're not always wearing their robes. They're kind of wearing just normal kids' clothes and stuff like that. I agree that the opening is super strong. Probably the most. We'll have to talk about it later, but definitely one of the strongest in the series. But there does come that mid lapse, like you said, where they get more into the angsty kind of stuff that Harry and all of them have to deal with. And yeah, that's necessary in books or in movies like Goblet of Fire and Order of the Phoenix. But for this, I think the whole thing and the whole idea of Prisoner of Azkaban is Harry coming to terms with the fact that this man that is one of the most fearsome killers of muggles and wizards alike is someone that he has to end up caring for. And that does not come across well in the movie. I feel like the style and the overall tone and atmosphere is done very, very well with the Dementors and everything. It really brings in the dark themes in full, but it loses that base Harry Potter kind of style we're used to. So I think Prisoner of Azkaban does a good job bringing in the darkness, but it forgets the roots of which it came from. Who were your favorite characters in this one? Because this one, we saw a lot of new faces, some great actors, you know, like Sirius Black, Remus Lupin, Nymphadora Tonks, or maybe she's in the further ones.
Comes
but
later.
We got quite a few new people, and I think that Sirius Black, Remus Lupin, and these other professors really brought a lot of acting chops to a film series that was a lot of kids and then a few really good adults. So what did you think about the overall acting of it?
Well, Daniel Radcliffe still sucks.
Yeah, this is one of the worst ones for him.
Keanu Reeves his way through it, just blankly stares. I felt like, especially when you bring in Gary Oldman and the actor that plays Lupin, who I think played John Lennon in a movie called Backbeat.
Yeah.
They were so good. I think that the previous adult characters we'd seen were very flat. You had Professor McGonagall, who was just sort of a strict but sort of nice teacher, and then you had Snape, who was a strict but evil teacher, and then you had
very
Flitwick.
one note.
Yeah, like Flitwick is small, and we have Trelawney, who was a great performance by Emma Thompson, still flat, and but I think with Lupin and with Black, it felt like they were bringing in, the adults were joining the team, and the side of good was kind of starting to build up their army for this eventual battle with Voldemort that's going to come several books down the road.
Exactly.
So those, Black and Lupin were fantastic. I mean, the characterization of Lupin, both of them were really great. I mean, the makeup that they did for Black, the sort of straggled look to him, they weren't afraid to give him the teeth of a meth addict.
Yeah.
To show that he was in prison. You know, he didn't come out of there looking amazing. Like somebody coming out of prison on a show like Gossip Girl would look, you know. They weren't afraid to just go all the way with it. But I think it made the scenes where all right, now let's see what Hermione has to say about this, and Harry was just so cringeworthy.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up.
I mean, it felt like we had gotten away from the book, and they seemed to make a lot of good choices. They skipped a lot of stuff from the beginning of the book, and they shuffled a few things around that I thought were good choices. But then whenever Hermione had to deliver a line, that's when it felt like, right, here's page whatever from the book. Hermione's got to deliver that exposition. The part where Harry's trying to cry. Well, Harry. When Radcliffe is trying to cry, and then he yells out that when he discovers that his family's friend lied to him but betrayed them. Yeah. Oh my God.
That was the one scene I wanted to bring up, and then it's a perfect segue into the fact that Oldman and the actor, once again, I apologize for not knowing his name, but Lupin, their very powerful performances almost encompass the entire problem of the movie, which is the shift in tone. And it's almost like you have, the big leaguers who really bring it all. Oldman gives all of everything into this character. He goes from scene one. He is a menace. He is everything that character is supposed to act like. And then, like you said, you get these shots over with Hermione, and it seems like they're plucking things from the book, that they're lost in this, do we go our own separate way? Do we try to stay true to the fans? And in the middle of that, you have excellent actors delivering powerful lines of dialogue, really bringing in the true heart of the Harry Potter franchise to come. And then you have this slash cut of Malfoy, getting a snowball thrown at his head, and then Harry,
exactly.
with obvious eye drops going, he was their friend! And it's like, okay, Radcliffe, I don't buy it, and it's going to take you a few more movies, but I think 3, for all of the good it does, it also showcases just how mixed of talent the entire cast was. The adults really start to hold it as we continue in the series, but Prisoner of Azkaban, as it is, really is Harry, Ron, and Hermione starting to understand that this world is much bigger than a castle itself. And speaking on the castle, we get to see a lot of the castle, but in a much different way than we saw it in 1 and 2.
I feel like rebooted.
Yeah. Well, but beyond the visuals, I feel like when they rebooted the whole visual style, they made the castle feel much more ominous, much more, I don't want to say old or creepy, but it felt more like a true castle in the style of which the series was pushing. I don't think that Christopher Columbus's idea of this wondrous land of learning was ever going to work in like 6 or 7.
Yeah, Christopher Columbus's was the Disney ride version, where everything was squeaky clean, and this was more like Ridley Scott's Alien, where this is what a castle would look like if you lived in it for
Yeah.
however many hundreds or thousands of years. Man, the way we're picking on Radcliffe, we feel like a couple of human life Dracos. Nice acting, Radcliffe.
Right, acting there, Scarhead. But it's fair because Radcliffe was plucked as a child actor, and thank God he actually became his own actor. But for a while there, he kind of was just he was only popular because he was the boy who played Harry Potter.
Yeah.
I don't know if he had to go through rigorous acting training or whatever. Thankfully, he turned it around, but I don't think being harsh on Radcliffe is necessarily a hard hit on him because he is the protagonist. He is the audience's relation to this world of magic. So if the main character is unbelievable, thank God we have side characters and support characters that can really bring it to life. But if the lead actor is shite, there's only so much you can do beyond casting him again. And you couldn't do that not when you're in the third movie of a 7-movie franchise. It's not even possible.
Yeah, and in a way, unless it's Dumbledore, but in a way,
things have to happen.
I mean, it's like the only silver lining is that if you think of Harry as a blank avatar, like an RPG character in a Western RPG, it's just blank slate, silent, no emotions, and the audience just have
Cardboard.
the audience just has to sort of make up their own emotions as they go along. And I remember from reading the books way back when, I would be sometimes surprised when Harry would like lash out or have a strong emotion, because Rowling does keep him pretty flat most of the time. He's new to the world and it's all hitting him, but then they have to balance him dealing with the frustrations of it. But I think that's the biggest thing, is that these kids are now joining the ranks of the adults. As you move along through the series, they start going on missions with the adults, and they're right alongside with them, fighting and dying with them. For the rest of the movie, I just felt like Alfonso, that's what I call him, is doing his best to make every scene look as pretty and as interesting and move the camera around, tight close-ups. The soundtrack I thought was really inspired.
It was very, very good.
I mean, the first one was a very sort of John Williams in all three, although he sort of supervised and only half worked on two.
This one felt muted almost, like a very, very drawing kind of music. I mean, there were your kind of explosive, very broad moments, but I felt like this one was kind of more for atmosphere, really, than it was for booming introductions to scenes and stuff like that.
I thought it felt a lot like, almost like a Danny Elfman kind of feel. It was very quirky, especially in the first third of the movie when we have the night bus and the shrunken head, and they're really going for this kind of like kooky, quirky atmosphere. And the music I thought was a lot more fun rather than very like blandly sweet. Like, the first one was very everything's pretty and nice and over the top. The second one was very quiet, because he just wasn't there for a lot of the production.
Sleeping on it.
Yeah, and then I thought this one started off really strong, really quirky, really fun, and then kind of died out in the middle, because I feel like I could feel the control of the studio. This was a franchise that I think the first two movies had made something like $800 million.
Yeah.
If not each combined.
Something very, very high up there.
So as much as they gave, I applaud them for giving Alfonso enough leeway that they did, but they were going to stick with their script guy no matter what. They had a formula, and this was their $800 million formula they weren't going to run away from. I don't really know what else to say of it other than the middle is just a mess.
Let's talk about that middle, because you have a very good strong start where it sets an ominous tone with the Hogwarts Express and the Dementors.
Still fun.
It's fun. Yeah, it still has that Potter charm. But 3, what it very much does is it I don't want to say it focuses on death, but it's very much a tragic story. So I love and we're getting into spoilers now, so for some godforsaken reason you haven't seen Harry Potter 3, I guess skip a little bit, but I really, really enjoyed the time turner. I like the way they did that, but I didn't like that the whole entire movie, even though the book does have a little bit of it, the whole movie seemed to focus around the murder of Buckbeak, who was a character who we might have liked, because of, he hits Draco. I'm thinking of the right movie here, right? This is Azkaban.
Buckbeak, hits Draco. They have to use the time turner to save him so that he can save what's his name, Black.
And I like that whole entire way they wrapped it up. But like you said, I think the middle, just kind of the classes, specifically the class in which Buckbeak hits Draco, it's the Care of Magical Creatures class.
Yeah.
The classes started to feel a little bit less like I imagined them when I was reading the books and when I was watching the rest of the films. They seem to have lost some of their magic, okay? And I feel like the film kind of pushed aside a lot of the day-to-day things, even though they included them sometimes. They really didn't make them as important as, like, oh, here's Buckbeak, he's gonna die. Here's the time turner. Obviously, the time turner takes a big spot in the conclusion. But what was it about the middle that you felt Drew, like, really dropped the ball? Was it too much dialogue, too much exposition?
The problem with the middle is that a good chunk of that book is, and a good chunk of the story they tried to tell here is built around Sirius Black is coming. We need to build as much dread as possible. The strength of the book is that it takes a long time to read, so you're just feeling this dread coming. Everyone's worried about it. Everyone is overprotective of Harry. Sirius Black sneaks in at one point in the book and has a knife. Yeah, and actually, you think he's going to kill Harry. They don't have that. They don't show that part, so you lose the first instance of Harry going face to face with him and actually thinking about being killed. So
I think you drop a lot of the confusion because Harry's confused oftentimes in that book after a while when he realizes what Sirius really is to him. And I don't think you get any of that out of the movie because there's really no conflict besides, Harry, don't go after this man. But what if I want to? Like, that's it. That's all you get.
Well, the middle ends up, I mean, they have the Marauders map. They have him running around. And it's just all this Hogsmeade stuff you need to get rid of. You could maybe the Patronus training session. I think you need to keep in because that's the way that he gets out of it. Buckbeak, you need to keep that in because that's how Black gets away. Although I think you could have done without that.
They drop Buckbeak after a while too. He continues on. I'm currently reading the book series, but that was one of the most interesting things watching this and then watching the rest of the films is that Buckbeak is forever mentioned throughout 4, 5, 6, and eventually 7 as well. And it seems kind of like that's just how Sirius gets away. And then Buckbeak he's Buckbeak. He's just not really in it anymore, which was, I guess if you were to change it that radically, it would probably really piss off fans. But I think I agree with you the most on this, that it has 2 outstanding acts and then has a not dreadful middle act, but one that feels like it was ripped out of Chamber of Secrets, just not very inspired.
I think the second act will be tolerable for fans and will be enjoyable, I guess, by the super fans that just have to see everything come to life. But I think for in terms of an enjoyable movie, it almost brings it. I was going into this movie thinking I was going to give it 5 out of 5, 4 out of 5, and that middle part was so dreadful, so much of a slog, so pointless. I mean, it brings it down to more of a 2 or a 3.
Really,
where I want to recommend it enough just to check out what Cuarón did in that first bit that I'd have to give it a 3. But yeah, man, it's a grind to get through.
Okay, so it sounds like we're around stars time, so you're going to give it a 3 out of 5 stars?
I'll give it a 3 just because of how fantastic that first third was, and the Beetlejuice vibe it produced, and how exciting it was especially after seeing, if you're going to go through them all and you watch Chamber of Secrets, I think this is a really nice one to kind of pump up the sales. But yeah, I couldn't give it any more than that. How about you?
I'm going to go, yeah, you know what? When I came into this, I was thinking about a 4, but you do bring up that middle slog is pretty obnoxious. So I'm going to go 3-5. But here's the thing. I think when we're doing this list, because we're going to rank them, I don't think it would be smart to go by our ratings. I feel like we should just organically kind of, as we reflect on them, build a list that doesn't necessarily reflect the ratings. Right now, if you had to peg it, because I think we're going to agree, where would you put it? Because I believe Chamber of the Secrets is at the bottom, and then we have Philosopher's Stone right there at the top still. Where do you think 3 fits in? Is it at the bottom, the middle, or the top?
If I had to go back in a week and I had to pick one of these to watch again,
yeah,
I'd probably want to watch Philosopher's Stone before Azkaban.
Really? Okay, I would say it's better than 1, but I will concede it because I feel like we have to agree, otherwise we'll have 2. So for maybe I'll do my own list, but for the sanctity of us agreeing, let's say for now as it sits, number 1 is still Philosopher's Stone. Then the next one down is Prisoner of Azkaban, and Chamber of Secrets still sits down there in its little chamber at the bottom.
Okay, and then maybe at the end, if we're not completely sick of it, we'll do a final video where we rank them all, and we can hash it out then and argue.
Shift around a little bit too. Yeah, that might make
sense.
Go.
Or even assign like a point system or something.
Yeah, but for now, we got Prisoner of Azkaban. You gave it a 3. I gave it a 3.5, I believe.
There you go.
So
you price is rated me. So next week, unless there's another big movie out, we will have.
I don't think so.
One of the most challenging Harry Potter ones, the most derisive one. I'm looking forward to just seeing how it holds up now. See if it's not as bad as I remember. Number 4.
It'll be interesting.
The Goblet of Fire, dragons, Robert Pattinson,
some underwater segments.
Oh boy! Hopefully,
much more.
Is Radcliffe better in the 4th one?
Radcliffe starts to get there. He starts to get there, but he ain't there yet.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching. Share it with somebody if you think they'll like it. You can find me writing and making videos for a90skid.com and on Twitter at GameThinkTalk.
You can find me on Twitter at SuperGameCast64 and also on a90skid.com where I do reviews.
Great. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye for now.
Lord Lady at 12 o'clock!